Hey, Forrest here. Nothing like getting paid. And with ICCU's mobile app, I can deposit checks or accept Zelle payments so the money hits my account fast. I just wish there was an app for mowing the rest of these lawns.
It's the fall kickoff sale at Lithia Ford of Boise. It's the best time to trade in and trade up to a new Ford truck or SUV with the room to haul your payload or playload. Visit Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho.
Bronco Nation News is presented by RowPaint.com, Idaho Central Credit Union, Taco Bell, by Lithia Ford, The Blue and Orange Store, Western Collective, by Jackson's, Snake River Pool and Spa, Transportation Compliance Service, Bauscher Real Estate, Ridley's Family Markets, by Circa Las Vegas, Lean Feast, and by Timberstone Golf Course. This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Bronco Nation News Live from BroncoNationNews.com is presented by RowPaint.com, the official paint and coatings company of Boise State Athletics. All Bronco Nation news broadcasts come from the Western Collective Studios. Head down to Western Collective's locations in Garden City or downtown Boise to try some of their delicious beers, including the Horseshoe Golden Ale, the first beer to support an NIL collective. Now, here's four-time NSMA Idaho Sports Writer of the Year, BJ Rains, with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
Well, good morning, Boise State fans. Welcome on in to Bronco Nation News Live here at BroncoNationNews.com. My name is BJ Rains. We got Mike Prater, host of Prater in the Ball Game, weekdays 3 to 6, KTIK, The Ticket, columnist here at Bronco Nation News. I'll have a column coming out in the next couple of days on his thoughts looking back at the Oregon game. But, Mike, we wanted to let you simmer on it a couple of days before you put the pen to paper there. Not sure that's a good thing or a bad thing for Bronco Nation, but it's Monday morning, and how we doing, Mike?
I'm doing great, BJ. How you doing? I mean, it's we just got off our first full weekend of football, college football, NFL football, and Mondays are usually dragging around here. But I felt a little extra pop in my step today, and we'll get a call here the next couple of days. Not so much on the Oregon game, but where do we sit after two games at Boise State? I would imagine over these next 45 minutes, we're going to debate that right now.
Yeah, no, I had a great night's sleep, and I had the. I'm sure you did this back in your beat writing days, but I had the 5 a.m. flight on Sunday, and so was trying to figure out, is it worth going to sleep for 2 hours or what? So ended up not even getting a hotel room on Saturday night and just powered through after the post-game show and wrote my story. And me and Jaden Finch, our part-time reporter intern, closed down the press box about 2:30 in the morning there in Autzen and went to a Sherry's Diner.
Yes.
Filed my story over a piece of pie at Sherry's at about 3:15 in the morning, and then went straight to the airport and flew back at 5. And I had just started to doze off. I can't sleep on planes, but I mean, I've been up, 25 straight hours. And the second flight from Seattle to Boise, I had just dozed off while we were boarding, and then right when we were about to take off, woke up and I had that 10-minute nap was all I got for the day. But I got back and was able to coach my kids' baseball game yesterday. And then it was that weird 5 p.m. where you want to go to sleep, but if you do, you're probably going to be up at 3 in the morning. So kind of powered through and watched some Sunday Night Football, and then went to bed and got a nice 8 or 9 hours and feeling great this morning. And I haven't had a chance to rewatch the game. I usually like to do that on Sundays before I come on here on Monday, and I haven't had the chance to do that yet, but obviously was there in person. And I'll tell you what, Mike, I'm very curious to listen to your post-game show as well, because, you tell people before the game, Boise State fans, I guess, hey, you're going to lose 37-34 on a buzzer-beating field goal to lose by 3 at Autzen Stadium. 99.9% of fans would have signed for that right there on the dot. But then you find out how it happened with the 2 special teams touchdowns and some of the other things that led to that. I mean, boys, as I kind of wrote about, like Boise State's really got, they're feeling good about this, but they also have to feel like they really let one slip away the other night.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. It's one of those crazy frustration and pride moments. And I'm sure Spencer Danielson's feeling that, and his coaching staff. I'm sure the players are feeling that as well. We certainly know the fans are feeling frustrated and proud about what happened here. So I think for the most part, and I always hate to be this, mad scientist when it comes to social media, but on our post-game show, on your post-game show, there was a lot of dark, negative thoughts about this. I think that's the silent majority because, I'll put out a positive tweet and it says, Boise State's exactly where they're supposed to be right now. If I kind of put out the same tweet that you just verbalized in terms of nobody really expected to be here. And if you did, this is what you would take. And it got a couple hundred likes because I think people feel for the most part that they're okay with that. The people that said Maddox Madsen's horrible and needs to be benched, Dirk Cutter's play calling was embarrassing, the special teams coach needs to be fired, that's about 5 to 10% of Boise State's fan base. There's probably another 15%, 20% that are kind of in the middle. I think for the most part, the common sense fans are fairly happy with where Boise State is right now, but just a little bit frustrated that this one definitely got away.
Yeah, and if you're going to bring some criticism, at least be right here. It's Keaton says, online consensus is the play calling on the last drive killed us. 3 pass plays out of empty with the Heisman on your team. Still thought the team was great. Well, that's not what happened. They ran the ball on first down with Ashton Genty. He got 4 yards up the middle. They had 2nd and 6, and they went incomplete to Matt Lauder. There was a pass breakup there, and then 3rd and 6, it was incomplete to Latrell Caples, and then they had to punt. So they did give it to Ashton Genty on the first play of that drive. He got 4 yards. Then you're at 2nd and 6, incomplete pass. Then, of course, on 3rd and 6, you got a pass. Maybe on 2nd down, they should have given it back to him there. But they didn't pass all 3 plays there. So at least be correct in what you're saying.
Yeah, and that's accurate, and that's always good to know. My biggest issue was, toward the end of the first half where there was a couple of chances to get Ashton Genty on a goal line situation. So, if we're going to nitpick 1 out of 70 play calls or whatever it was, that's fine. Bring it on. That's what we do. That's what these shows and social media are all about. But the bigger picture is here. I think Boise State football team got on a plane on Saturday night after that game and came home feeling pretty good about themselves. They're fairly healthy. We'll talk about a couple of injuries, I know. And they're 1-1, and they're going to be favored probably in every single game they play from here on out. That doesn't mean they're going to win them. But I think Boise State football, and that's what we said all offseason long. Let's see what Boise State does with these first 2 games, the long road trip and the big dominating game against the Oregon Ducks, and then we'll kind of see what happens. I think starting today, we're going to say that Boise State football is in fairly good shape.
Yeah, no doubt. I know some people probably wanted my column to be more ripping on, they got to fire Stacey Collins or, they got to, make the quarterback switch. But every other answer that they gave was like how pumped up they were for the rest of the season. Like if they can hang by 3 and almost beat Oregon, like what team on their schedule do they fear they can't beat? And so, is it a tall task to assume they're going to win out? Yes. If you had to be a betting man, is there probably a game they stub their toe somewhere and just play bad and probably lose one more game? I would say yes. But if you look at the facts, as you just said, yes, they should be favored likely. The at UNLV game, if UNLV can keep winning, they play Kansas this week. That'll be an interesting game. But that could be maybe the smallest point spread on the road at UNLV, late next month. But for the most part, they should be favored in each individual game to the rest of the season. So, yeah, is there still a decent chance that they could be 12-1 and make the playoff? Like, yes, I don't think that game hurt them at all. I said on the pregame show, Mike, all they had to do was not embarrass themselves. Just don't lose by 50, where at the end of the season when they're trying to pick who to put in there, they're like, well, we already saw Boise State play Oregon. They lost by 50. We don't need to do that again. The fact that they hung, yes, would a win have meant more? No doubt. Of course, yes. But when you're looking at that, at the end of the year, they're either not going to care or they're going to go, oh, actually, they only lost by 3. They hung with Oregon. Like that's because, again, we'll find out if Oregon actually is the number 7 ranked team here moving forward. It's another story in terms of them being overrated or however you want to talk about that. But I think overly, again, I know people don't want to hear it in the moment, but Spencer Danielson was more fired up than I've seen him in a while. And Ashton Genty, he's like, no, we're going to be just fine. Like we just hung with this team and you see how good we are. Like it took people a lot of other people didn't know this, but Spencer Danielson's, Spencer Danielson said, like, yeah, a lot of people didn't realize this, but like, yeah, I've been saying it. Like, we have a good team, and we just showed it tonight, and we're going to keep showing it moving forward here. So we'll get into the special teams. We'll get into the quarterbacks. We'll get into some of the play calls and things. But overall, if you're being just looking at it from a positive angle, you lose by 3. A lot of positive teams. You put up 34 points on that, Big Ten defense. The defense in some areas was much improved. Still have to get, the explosive plays still are a problem. But overall, they got better on third downs. Fans were worried Oregon was going to score 60 points, Mike, and they only gave up actually 23 on defense when you count the 2 special teams touchdowns. So they're not there yet, the 2 takeaways, but I thought defensively there were a lot of encouraging signs moving forward as well. So overall, I think there's a lot of positives to take. I know there's no moral victories, but in this case, there kind of is. I think they did exactly what they needed to do, and there's some positive signs moving forward here.
I like to use the word street cred, and Boise State football as a program came away with some street cred. They were looking for the national buzz in terms of winning this game. Didn't quite happen, but they kept their street cred intact. Ashton Jeanty as a Heisman Trophy, he's on the list. Let's put it that way. He's on the list. He's not a favorite.
Go front runner. Come on.
He's not a front runner. He's not the favorite. If you look at Vegas, he's not even top 20 because they know that this is a Power 5 quarterback award. That's all. That's the only stigma attached to this stupid race. Other than Ashton Jeanty is the best running back, the most productive running back in college football right now. We'll see how that plays out. But the bottom line is he came away with his street cred. So Boise State as a program got its street cred, maybe even a little bit of a bump if you can get such a thing in a loss. Ashton Jeanty certainly is just as big of a buzz today as he was last Monday. So, hey, no harm, no foul. You get the bye week this week to take care of it. You get Portland State next week to try to take care of some other stuff. And I want to talk about that game and how it relates to the quarterback situation. But I think Boise State is exactly where they wanted to be, minus 1 frustrating win. That certainly would have been a big bump for them.
And you mentioned the play calls. I do want to mention the one at the end of the first half. I really did think that was an opportunity where you had a chance to go up 2 scores, double digits, and get the ball to start the third quarter. But again, if you don't score there, you do give some momentum to Oregon going into the break. And Spencer said after the game when I asked him, hey, we just wanted to take some points, have momentum, and we knew we were getting the ball to start the third quarter. But the second down play call there, they decided it would have been flipped. I mean, you had 5 seconds left. I think you probably could have run one more play. And if you don't get it, I mean, you try the 5 seconds, you do a quick pass, something. If you don't, then all of a sudden, at least you still get the ball third quarter. But if you do, you score, and 7, that's great. If not, you hopefully still have. I mean, there were 3 outcomes there, and 2 were good for you. Either you score a touchdown, either you don't score, but there's still time left for a field goal, or you don't score at all, and then time runs out. So 2 of the 3 outcomes were good. I would have liked them, seen them been a little more aggressive there and kind of go for the throat, so to speak, at the end of the first half. But not being able to score the touchdown there when you get down inside the red zone with a minute left before half and having to settle for the points, I did think was a big part of the game.
Yeah, and I think they had a timeout. As a matter of fact, I know they had at least 1 timeout there, so and they didn't play with it. So that to me was a little bit of a, if we're talking about a 30-second window, should Spencer Danielson have used a timeout? Absolutely. He's coached 5 games. He's going to make rookie mistakes. Veteran coaches make that mistake. I'm not giving him a free pass. He should have called the timeout, and I would have liked to see Ashton Jeanty getting at least 1 crack there. So, they had there was a pass to Camper, I think was one of them. I can't remember what the second one, who the target was there. And that's fine. I mean, I get the aggressive mentality. I get the play calling and the 5 seconds to run 2 or 3 plays, but Jeanty didn't get the touch and a timeout was wasted. And that's a very small window where I could sit there and second guess the coaches, but I'm not going to be, I'm not going to jump on Cutter, Collins, Danielson for the overall big picture of this football game. I thought they came away in actually pretty good shape.
We had a great turnout at the watch party, Mike Prater. Packed house there at House of Western, the National Bar inside. 2nd game in a row, standing room only. So we may have to push this thing out into the main part of the House of Western area. So all road games, make sure you join us. The House of Western, the Horseshoe Collective Golden Ale, $3 during the games. They get other food and drink discounts, and they raffle off a $50 gift card to help pay your tab if you show that you're a YouTube subscriber of Bronco Nation News. So hope to see you for the Hawaii game, a little late one. That's the next road game is coming up in about a month or so. We'll see you at House of Western and you can get those $3 Horseshoe Collectives. They're available as well at local gas stations and grocery stores and stuff too. All the Western Collective products, including the Horseshoe Golden Ale. Our title sponsors, roepaint.com. They're sponsoring the studios down there at KTIK. roepaint.com. Check them out. Saw Andy Rowe all over KTVB on Friday night. He did a live shot at the little event, and Andy was right there front and center going crazy. So always enjoy seeing Andy on the road there. Got to meet Andy Rowe's dad there. That was fun too. Official paint and coatings company at Boise State Athletics. And again, all your painting needs, they can help you out, but I recommend their concrete coatings. Check them out at rowepaint.com. Thursday night, we're working on a very, very special guest for Thursday night. Idaho Central Credit Union presents the Tyson Degenhart Show. We got Riley and Rid tomorrow night, Ball Talk on Wednesday, and the Tyson Degenhart Show on Thursday. So 3 evening shows during the bye week this week. Idaho Central Credit Union, ICCU.com. There's a branch pretty much on every corner, but as you know by now, the easiest is the online eBranch mobile banking on your app, on your smartphone. So download it, make the switch today, Idaho Central Credit Union. Matt Bauscher, Bauscher Real Estate, #1 ranked realtor in the Treasure Valley. Check him out, Matt Bauscher, BauscherRealEstate.com. And again, well, the Raines family bought and sold our home using Matt and Kelly and Cade and Sarah and the whole crew there, and we're very happy and thankful. So make them your choice next time you're buying to sell your home, BauscherRealEstate.com. And Ridley's Family Markets, shop Ridley's.com. They got 13 locations across the state of Idaho. I recommend that McCall location if you're trying to get one more weekend up in McCall before the weather turns here. Shop Ridley's.com. And again, they got Treasure Valley, Magic Valley, all around the state of Idaho, even the surrounding states. Just download their Skip app, save up to 40% off at the checkout line. Again, find a location near you at shopridleys.com. All right, Mike, let's go quarterbacks, I guess. That's what everybody wants to talk about. I do want to get to special teams and some of the other issues with this team, but we might as well, while we have a good chunk of the show left, dive into the quarterbacks here. I will say this. It didn't feel like 17 for 40 to me when I went back and looked at the stats. I didn't all along in the third and fourth quarter go, man, Maddox Madsen is just killing them. Oh, here's another incomplete pass. Maybe I wasn't looking at the right things, but to me, when Genty was moving the ball, the offense was moving the ball. I mean, I did not look at that in the moment and say, man, Maddox Madsen is killing them in this game. And maybe I was missing something. I don't know. I went back and looked at the stats and I'm like, wow, it just didn't feel like a 17 for 40. Now, again, 17 for 40, not good. Passing for 148 yards, not good. I think he had 5 completions in the second half for like 30-something yards. I'm going back to look at my stats here. It was not it was not great. He was not great. But I did not look at that. Again, in the second half, Mike, it was 5 for 19 for 33 yards passing, and that is in my story there for folks that want to look at it. But I'm not trying to defend Maddox Madsen here. I'm open to a quarterback discussion. I'm open to saying if you want to make a switch, I'm not trying to be 100% behind Maddox Madsen here. I just didn't. It's just weird, I guess. His stats don't line up with what I saw in person there in terms of being the reason they lost this game. You have to have better quarterback play to win at number 7 on the road. No doubt about it. 17 for 40 for 148 yards will not win you that game. But I didn't think he had any just boneheaded interceptions or terrible game-changing plays. Or I thought that there were bigger issues in the game, but obviously Maddox Madsen didn't have his best game at Boise State on Saturday.
No, not even close. And he is still young. He's only started, completed, and won one game in his entire career, so he's young. But let's get beyond that. I thought he was fine, except for the third quarter. And guess what? Boise State, the only quarter that they didn't score in this game was the third quarter. He comes out at the beginning of the second half, incomplete short pass to Ashton Genty that probably should have been completed. Then he completes another short pass to Austin Bolt for 8 yards. And then he misses 8 consecutive passes. He's 1 for 10 to start the third period, to start the second half. That's the stretch where Maddox Madsen really was struggling. And I could feel it there. I could feel the angst. I could feel him being poor as a quarterback. I could feel this offense really being stuck. I could feel the collective angst of Bronco Nation thinking, this is our quarterback, and everybody piling on him. And for that third quarter, I thought that was all accurate. He was terrible in the third quarter. Outside of that, I thought he was okay. Now, again, we're not going to sit here and make excuses for him. He was terrible there. I have some thoughts about the quarterback position moving forward, but I wouldn't panic. And I guarantee you, I absolutely flat out guarantee you that Dirk Cutter is not panicking right now. I hope Dirk Cutter doesn't get so stuck that he kicks in his heels and doesn't make any kind of moves, because I want to see some flexibility in the Portland State game. But for the third quarter, Maddox Madsen was terrible. For the rest of the game, I thought Maddox Madsen was okay.
Yeah, and you do wonder, at times, coaches, whenever the coaches know, fans, media, whatever, want something different and they don't want to do that, sometimes they do, stick in there to try to eventually prove that they were right and you were wrong. And you do wonder kind of what's going to happen with that moving forward. I guess my whole point is, Mike, the coaches saw 8 months of those two guys battling, and they thought and made the decision, in my opinion, a fairly one-sided decision based on the reps and things we saw in the fall camp. I don't think this was even quite as close of a battle as they laid it out to be. At least that's the way I interpret it from practice reps and things like that. I think this was a fairly one-sided battle that was won pretty easily by Maddox Madsen at the time. Now, is that because Maddox Madsen did great, or because his competition, just really wasn't ready yet at all? There's two ways to look at that, and I guess we'll never know. Was it, did Maddox Madsen win the job because he was clearly, did great and was deserved it and all this, or was Malachi Nelson just so far behind that the best option was Maddox Madsen? I don't know the answer to that. I'm not sure we'll ever know the answer to that. But I guess what I'm saying is, through 8 months of practice and then 2 games, I just don't know if 2 games is enough. If these coaches were so certain that Maddox Madsen was the starter and deserved it, I'm not sure after 2 games it's enough to say, okay, it's time to make a switch.
You're right, but let's look at the excuse me, let's look at the bigger picture here. Everybody thought Malachi Nelson should have come into this game and replaced Maddox because they thought that would give him a better chance to win. If you want to have a long-term debate about who's the better quarterback for Boise State moving forward, I'll engage in that debate. To say that Malachi Nelson should have come in the second half of that game because he would have won that game. And we all saw that narrative over and over and over. The anti-Maddox crowd and the pro-Malachi crowd were saying that over and over. Think about this, guys. Malachi Nelson hasn't played football in almost 2 years. 2 years he hasn't played a football game. And the last time he played a football game, he was the #1 ranked quarterback in the nation. And he was playing a postseason game for his high school football team. And guess how many points they scored in that game? 0. They got beat like 56-0. That's the last time he played a football game 2 years ago. And now you think all of a sudden, with limited reps, backup guy, he's going to come in and beat the Oregon Ducks on the road and do a better job. Look what Caleb Williams did in the NFL yesterday. Look what a lot of other quarterbacks did in the NFL every day. Just because Malachi Nelson has this fake, phony, and it just drives me crazy, 5-star recruit hype, you think he can automatically walk in and be Superman and beat the Ducks. He hasn't played football in 2 years, and the last time he played, he got his ass kicked. So, you know what? There's no way that Malachi Nelson comes in and all of a sudden is flying around and lifting Boise State over the Oregon Ducks. So I'm not going to have that conversation. If we want to have that conversation moving forward about who has the higher ceiling, jump in, let's go. But it drives me crazy that everybody thinks by the snap of the finger, Malachi Nelson's going to come in off the bench and be a great quarterback.
If we're going to use higher ceiling to Dirk Cutter, you're asking that question, not me.
I know, and I asked it first, and then you asked it second, and you got beat up more than I did. And I remember that moment.
Yeah, and a lot of people are here saying are pretty much agreeing with you. If Malachi was ready, he would have won the job. Great point, Prater. Let's see what else we got here. A lot of similar comments. I guess, yeah, again, I agree with you that in that situation, that was not the time for Malachi Nelson. I will say this, I didn't think, should we give, can't we give Oregon's DBs a little credit too? That's a Pac-10, that's a Big Ten defense you're playing now, Pac-10 last year, but there weren't a lot, I don't remember a lot of open throws that Maddox Madsen just missed. There were a lot of tight throws that he tried to get into where they knocked the ball away, but I don't remember a lot of wide open throws where it's oh, that was just a terrible throw.
No, there was a couple. There was definitely a couple. And the strength of Oregon's defense is the back half of its defense, unlike Boise State. So I think Oregon's DBs are really, really, really good. So I got no problem there whatsoever. Let's go back to last year. What was one of the biggest conversations we had last year about this wide receiver core? No separation, not helping the quarterbacks out. The wide receiver group struggled last year. And guess what? I didn't see a lot of dominant performances from the wide receivers this weekend either. Not a lot of separation because of that Oregon speed, because those Oregon DBs are pretty good. There was probably at least a half a dozen bang plays. And Maddox probably made a decent throw, probably made a decent decision, and there was no separation, no gap, or the DBs made a fantastic play. I'm not taking that away or being an excuse. That's part of the accurate puzzle, though, there. And let's give a little bit of angst to the wide receivers, who I still haven't cleaned up last year's issue of getting separation and being fan-friendly to your quarterback.
I think if you wanted to make a case that the most underperforming position versus the hype through 2 games is the wide receiver group.
Absolutely.
Prince Strawn really hasn't done much at all. Austin Bolt, 2 of your projected starters, really haven't done much. I think Bolt had a catch or 2. in the last game. Prince Strong, I think, finally got on the board a little bit. But to look at, the two games to this point, when we finally get one catch for 12 yards for Prince Strong, 2 catches for 11 yards for Austin Bolt. So through 2 games, 2 of your projected starters, Prince Strong and Austin Bolt, have 3 combined catches. Matt Lauder, we heard so much about him being a factor in the passing game. He only has 3 catches through 2 games as well. Caples is doing his thing. I've been super impressed with Cam Camper. Camper and Caples have been the 2 guys. But for all we heard about all these other receivers and how deep they were, and how that's going to just be, the number 2 unit could be the starting wide receiver group for a lot of other teams, which, again, we hype that up. I hype that up. And we saw it in practice, and we heard it from coaches. We heard it from players, and we saw, in practice it looked great. But through 2 games, I think if you do want to pick a position, again, that has underperformed the most based on the expectations we had for them, I think an easy place to look is that wide receiver room.
Chris Marshall, 4 targets, just in the first 2 games combined, 4 targets, not even catches. So Chris Marshall is struggling. Strawn, as you said, 0 targets in that first game, 5 in the second game, and not a lot of impact there whatsoever. They're going to get this group going. It's too talented not to get going, and there needs to be some connection with the quarterback. So they absolutely need to get going. But Caples and Camper, to me, are by far the best here. Genty's your 3rd best wide receiver, which shouldn't surprise us. Austin Bolt, I love the fact that they're trying to use him so much, but I'm going to say something really bad about Austin Bolt that's probably going to get me in trouble. I'm starting to wonder if he's got stone hands. I don't think he's got great hands. I'll go back a couple years ago with that very first catch at Bronco Stadium where he had a chance to catch the ball. It was a deep ball heading toward the south end zone, and he had his hands on it, and it just kind of went right through it. At the time, that was an isolated catch or an isolated opportunity, but ever since then, I'm not sure Austin Bolt has good, dependable hands, and that's something I want to keep an eye on moving forward. But Caples, Camper, Genty, those guys are getting the job done. After that, I would thoroughly agree with you, BJ. The wide receiver room right now is definitely one of the most underperforming groups based on the hype going into the season.
All right, back to the quarterback. So, Mike, moving forward here, Portland State, we'll have next Monday to talk about this. We got 2 weeks to talk about this, the bye week this week, and then 3 home games after that. I think if you played Maddox Madsen the entire game against Portland State, he's probably going to look really good against Portland State. And there'll be folks and coaches included saying, "Yep, this he's our guy. He's great. We're moving forward." If you want to play if you were, I'm not saying they will or should, but if you played Malachi Nelson the whole game against Portland State, I'd be curious to see how it would look, but I'm guessing it would probably still look pretty good. It's Portland State, and then you'd have the Malachi Nelson fans saying, "Look, he's great. He should have played the first 2 games. We're sticking with Malachi Nelson moving forward here." You do have 2 weeks here. We don't know I think the plan, so to speak, was, that hopefully Maddox Madsen plays good enough and he's our quarterback every game the entire season. I don't think there was a plan where let's just play the 2 road games and then we're going to switch, or let's see where we're at. Maybe we'll switch. Maybe they, in the back of their minds, they think at some point they're going to switch to Malachi Nelson. They're just not sure when. I don't know what the plan is at quarterback. I assume when you pick the guy, you hope he's the guy the entire season and you don't have to worry about it. But you do have a bye week here. You do have next week against Portland State. If there ever were a time to think about mixing in the other quarterback, this would be the 2-week stretch probably to think about doing it. I'm not sure you just make him the starter and he plays 100% moving forward. If you do give him some time, then you do start to have this kind of QB controversy again, and the whole thing they said they didn't want to do. If Mike Prater were getting the $400,000 that Dirk Cutter is getting and sitting in the big chair there down at the Blameyer facility, and yes, John Reagan has asked this 10 times. We are going to get to special teams. I don't think we're stirring the pot here, Ray. I know you love to say that, but we will get to the special teams. But I think the quarterback, Bronco 130 says it is too. I'd like to know what you think about that, Bronco 130. How are we stirring the pot on the quarterbacks? Please let us know. I think we're being a real reality here, Mike Prater. I think it's a real conversation that 99% of fans at the water cooler are having right now about the quarterback situation. I don't think we're stirring the pot on anything. What do you make of the quarterback situation and what you would do moving forward here, if anything?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you asked because I do want to be in charge here for the next 10 days of this Boise State football team. So put me in charge, and this is exactly what I would do. And I think I'm really right here. And I say this really, really hesitantly because I'm sick and tired of quarterback palooza and what happened last year. I'm almost to the point where if I see a quarterback exchange on the field, I'm going to vomit. But here's what I would do. Portland State is horrible. They've given up 130 13 points, I think 123 points in the first 2 games. They've been completely annihilated. They're one of the worst defensive teams in all of college football. So you got to play, as a coach, you don't probably tell this to your team, and you certainly don't say it in public, but business as usual. Let's go out there in the first half and just kick somebody's butt. And if Maddox Madsen comes out and Boise State dominates, and let's say it's 31-7 at halftime, this is what I want. And I want it to be a private coaches conversation leading into this game. I'm going to start Malachi Nelson in the second half, if indeed my plan and my vision comes to fruition and Boise State dominates the first half. I'm going to bring out Malachi Nelson because those guys are smart, and we're not. But I'm smart enough to know that this competition is close enough, and there's enough red flags or enough variables where I want to see what Malachi Nelson can do. Not because of the social media morons, not because of all the people that think Dirk Cutter should be fired, or not because they're smarter than Dirk Cutter. I just think that this competition is close enough, and I just want to see what Malachi Nelson is. I look at what's happened in the past. I think Taylon Green and Hank Bachmeier both threw for 400 yards this past weekend. There was, one interception between them? So, you know what? I'm going to sit here and say that there's enough curiosity with this quarterback situation that I want Malachi Nelson to start the second half. And let's see what he does. Give him a full body work. I don't want a series in the second quarter. I don't want him to come in for a couple snaps. I want him to get some serious body of work with the number ones. And if he can go out and extend that 31-7 lead to 45, let him play the whole second half. Then let's figure out how Boise State should move going forward, because then you get a little bit more of a body of work. So I wouldn't share that with the team, maybe the quarterback room. I wouldn't share that with the public. But if Boise State dominates in the first half, I want to see Malachi Nelson start the second half.
But is what Malachi Nelson does in the second half of a blowout game over Portland State really worthy of saying he should now be starting the next week against Washington State?
Blanketly, no. But at least it gives me a little bit more of a vision of what we got at quarterback, and then you sit down and try to figure out what you have. And that's why I kind of said, I don't really like this idea, but I need to see what Malachi Nelson has. I really, truly do. Not because of all the outside noise and all the outside pressure, but I think there's a good enough intrigue there that he's a good enough quarterback that I want to see that. So put him out there, give him a body of work, and then let's go out and sit and figure it out. You're right, BJ, and I'm right, because I said this all summer long. At some point, Malachi Nelson is going to take over this football program. Does it matter if it's next week? Does it matter if it's next month? As long as we figure out that he's the better guy. And you'll never figure out that he's the better guy until you give him a little bit of body of work. And if he's with the ones, start of the third period, goes out there and dominates with a couple of drives, bang, 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 280-yard drives, 2 touchdowns, looks smooth doing it. We've got ourselves a quarterback situation. And I guess at that point, I'd be okay with it.
Yeah, I don't personally think if again, what we don't know is how close this battle really was. And we don't know if the battle was in Maddox's favor because Maddox went out and earned it, or I guess what we don't know is how far away Malachi Nelson is. We don't know, like, if was he right on the cusp, or is his grasp of the offense and everything still just so far behind that he's just still not ready. And I guess that's why we're, doing this show right now and not in the building having a, offensive staff meeting right now. Like, we just don't know so that's hard for me to judge, because if Malachi Nelson really is still months away or just doesn't have a grasp on the offense or is not ready, then I don't care who you're playing or what the situation is or how good Maddox Madsen is. If he's still your better option, you just stick with him. Like, it's not that everybody loves the backup quarterback, but they're the backup quarterbacks for a reason. And so I guess we don't know what that reason is. And again, was Maddox Madsen's performance perfect? No. I didn't come out of that game until I looked at the stats thinking he lost them the game. I know there's people pointing out a couple throws that he missed on, but I didn't just see throw after throw after throw where it's like, oh, he missed another wide open guy. And the thing, I guess, in my mind is we don't know if Malachi Nelson can do any better right now. And as you're saying, maybe it's time to give him a look and see. I just don't think after 2 games, in my personal opinion, I'm not saying you're wrong, Mike, because I would love to see it. I just don't personally think the coaches are ready to go down this path yet. I don't think they're ready to get into a whole public quarterback. I mean, they've both said they don't want to do this, that's not the goal. And they've defended Maddox Madsen so much, and Dirk Cutter just is so behind Maddox Madsen that I don't think they want to give Malachi Nelson any chance right now to try to take this job over and create this huge firestorm that it would be the Monday after the Portland State game if he goes out there and has a great second half. I could be wrong, but I think they're going to, at least for the time being, dig in on Maddox Madsen here.
And you're probably right. You're probably right. And that should probably be the right thing to do. I mean, if Boise State gets into that blowout with Portland State and Maddox comes out in the third quarter and runs a couple of series, and then all of a sudden, middle of the third quarter, Malachi, you just take over. And he goes out and just kind of gets his feet wet and plugs along and does okay here, does okay there. That's probably more realistic. You're right. Dirk Cutter and Spencer Danielson have zero intent of creating this. Can you imagine if Maddox Madsen, after all we've been through, goes out and leads Boise State to a 31-7 lead at halftime against Portland State, and then he gets benched? Psychologically, I know that's tough for Maddox, but if you approach it early on in the week as maybe this is what we're going to do, yeah, it'll put a little seed of doubt in Maddox's mind. But I think Maddox is also a pro. He's a great teammate. He's a coach's son. He gets it. And if it's communicated well, and that's probably the big key word here for inside that locker room, not so much the fans, but if it's communicated well. And don't forget, guys, that's exactly why Andy Avalos was fired last year. We had DJ Schramm right here in this studio, and we asked him about why Andy Avalos was fired, and he used the word communication. So if Spencer Danielson, who by all accounts is very transparent and very open with the way he talks to these guys, if he tells Maddox, on Tuesday, this is what the plan is for this Saturday, maybe that's going to work, but you're probably right, BJ. I guess I'm just buying into just a little bit of curiosity of what Malachi Nelson looks like. I don't want to deal with 17 for 40 ever again. That was ugly, and that was bad, and that third quarter was really, really ugly, and that's opened up my eyes just a little bit. But I'm like you. I have zero interest in a quarterback controversy at this point in the season.
I do think, though, if they're up, 55-7 or whatever in the fourth quarter or whatever, I do think there's a decent chance that Malachi Nelson at least gets into the Portland State game. But whether it's just get him in because he's the backup and we're up huge versus let's give him a real shot to show what he can do, I'm not sure which way it will go at this point. There were multiple other issues in terms of the special teams and the secondary and some of the big plays. Again, Mike, I want to wrap up the show talking about those in just a minute. But first, thespateam.com, Snake River Pool and Spa. They got locations in Twin Falls, Boise, Meridian, Nampa. Been around since 1978. They're part of the Boise State home team. Rain's family is loving our hot springs spa from Snake River Pool and Spa. But again, if you're not looking for a spa, you want a pool table or a billiards, something for the game room, they can help you out there as well. Snake River Pool and Spa, patio and game. Check out their full inventory online at thespateam.com. This is the fall kickoff sale for Lithia Ford of Boise. They got 6 student athletes at Boise State rocking vehicles, 4 football players. They got an event coming up 11 to 6 at Bora High School on Friday. All you got to do is go and test drive a vehicle. It's free. It's easy. Just test drive a vehicle, and they're going to donate $20 to Bora High School. And so it's a pretty cool event. I think Austin Bolton, some of the players are going to be out there Friday as well. We're looking to possibly do our show out there on Friday. So more details to come. But if you're in the area, you want to drive and check out one of their new vehicles or just help out, Bora High School, head out to Lithia Ford of Boise on Friday between 11 and 6. It's at Bora High School, actually. Head out to Bora High School and support Lithia Ford of Boise and Bora High School from 11 to 6. Taco Bell, TacoBellWorks.com. You're looking for some good food, check them out, TacoBellWorks.com to get more information on applying for a job. They have the endowed scholarships for the men's and women's basketball teams. They're doing a lot of help to Boise State and to the community. So TacoBellWorks.com. And again, if you're hiring or if you're looking for a job, they're hiring, but the food is great too. So highly recommend those cheesy roll-ups for like $1. My kids get a couple of them. You can feed 2 kids for under $10. TacoBellWorks.com. Get more information. Appreciate the SON Management Group and the Nicolason family. The trucking industry is booming right now. If you're looking for a job that kind of allows you the freedom of being out on your own on the open road, maybe consider getting into the trucking industry and the folks that can help sign you up. Transportation Compliance Service, Jeff Minert and his company. They're based in Meridian, national company that can help you all over the world. Transcomservice.com. Get more information, but all the permits and things, they can help you take care of that. The Blue and Orange Store sponsored our post-game show the other night. The blueandorangestore.com. Check them out, all your Boise State gear if you're getting ready for the home opener against Portland State. The blueandorangestore.com. You can order online, have it be delivered anywhere in the world. And again, if you're in the Boise area, just go to the Boise Town Square Mall there on the second floor next to Pro Image. Blue and Orange Store, all your Boise State gear. There's a lot of options, I know, but the most comprehensive, best selection, Blue and Orange Store. Been around since that 2006 Fiesta Bowl. Support them at the blueandorangestore.com. And Mike, today is the day. I hope folks head out to Jackson's. Thanks to Ahmed Hassani and getting that sack in the game on Saturday. You can get a 91-cent any size coffee or fountain drink with Let's Go Rewards. That is every Monday after the game in which Ahmed Hassanin has a sack. So he got that sack on Saturday. Head on out to Jackson's today and get any size coffee or fountain drink for just 91 cents today at Jackson's. So great deal. And you can thank Ahmed Hassanin, thank Jackson's by getting that 91-cent soda or coffee out there at Jackson's. And then Lean Feast, don't forget about them. Had one earlier today, the breakfast one. They got 10,000 plus combinations, breakfast, lunch, dinner. It's all fresh. It's all healthy, any different diet you have. And now they deliver anywhere in the Treasure Valley, so there is no excuse to not eat healthy. Lean Feast Meridian, leanfeastmeridian.com. And our boy Alex Martin is coming today, 208 Lawn and Landscape, to cut the grass today. So if you're looking for all your grass cutting, all your landscaping needs, and then also as a side project, he rents out these bounce houses. If you got a birthday party or a project coming up, support a former Bronco, Alex Martin. He's Cam Martin's brother. He's got a business, and he's helping you out with your lawn and landscape. Or if you're looking to rent a bounce house, 417-629-6832. Or you can check out 208lawnandlandscape.com for more information and to sign up with Alex Martin and 208 Lawn and Landscape. All right, final 5 minutes or so here, Mike. Let's go special teams. You gave up a kick return touchdown. You gave up a punt return touchdown. Obviously, the kick return one was a backbreaker right after you had taken the lead with 10 minutes left in the game. Was it just a fluky game, a fluky bad decision there, or do you have any kind of major concerns with Stacey Collins and the special teams here? Because, I mean, Oregon's got a pretty couple good returners there. They've got some speed, or is this a big problem for you?
I hope it doesn't become a big problem, but it certainly was a problem on Saturday night. But I think everybody contributed. Maybe it's just, I'd like to think it's just one of those outliers where this entire special teams unit was just gross. And James Ferguson Reynolds is responsible for the first one. That was a horrible punt from a guy who's one of the best, if not the best punter in the country. It was a line drive. They outkicked his coverage. I know it went 45 yards, but it never got more than 45 feet above the ground. And Boise State was put in a really, really bad situation to try to redo that one. Here's my curiosity about the kickoff return and the backbreaker and the 100 yards. Did Shive, I'm almost positive Shive was the kickoff guy for every single kickoff in this game. The first 6, and 4 of them were touchbacks. They've got him back there for a reason because I think he's got a boomer of a leg, and at this point in the season, you're going to want to get those touchbacks. Why all of a sudden did Dalmas come in, according to the book? Because I didn't see it. Was Dalmas the kickoff guy on that one? And why did they bring – so it was Shive the whole time?
I believe so, yes, because that's what he was asked about after the game.
Because the game book credited Dalmas with that kickoff, and that caught me off guard, and so I didn't know. And you were there, but if they brought Dalmas in for that one, why didn't that one go as a touchback? That one got caught on the 0, and then he goes 100 yards, and then we know what happened with the fumble and that nonsense. But there were some curiosities there that really, really concerned me. And then Jonah on the long field goal. Yeah, it was long, but he had plenty of leg, and I expect him to miss it. The only time I ever expect Jonah Dalmas to miss a field goal, if it's like 55 to 65 yards and he comes up a little bit short. 90% accuracy, and he happened to miss that one. So Jonah missed one that I didn't expect him to miss. I thought James Ferguson Reynolds was horrible on one punt, maybe a couple of them actually, where he didn't get burned. And then some decision-making and some execution with those 2 returns.
Yeah, Spencer said after the game that they think he had the better option to have them at least to this point get the kickoffs through the end zone, and they feel like that's another way to get another kicker in the game. You don't forget Dalmas is gone after this season as well, so you're getting another guy a little bit of experience and get him out on the field, and they feel like he had a better chance, and also you save a little bit of the bullets in Dalmas's leg. I'll have to go back and check on that. I'm pretty sure I never saw them make a switch there. That would be something if that's what happened. I don't know if they typed that in wrong. Certainly going to have to go back and look that up, but I mean, is it even worth giving him a chance to return on that? I mean, that's just that's a tough one.
Yeah, no. Touchbacks. TB, that's the best stat in the book. And if they got a guy that can boom the ball 65, 70 yards, 70 plus yards, and get that touchback again, especially against a Power 5 team like Oregon that just thrives on so much speed. You're not going to see that in some of these Mountain West games, but against Oregon, yes, touchback. And that was an execution error. Even if it was Shive, why wasn't that, was it like one of my 7-irons, just chunky and flat and just didn't get the job done?
Yeah, I'm not ready to say Stacey Collins should be fired or go really deep into the special teams here. I mean, this was one game. It was kind of fluky, as you said, with the punt. It was a bad punt right to them. It was a perfect punt for the return. You miss one or two blocks, and with that kind of speed, they're gone. It was a horrible time to give up 2 special teams touchdowns. You did all offseason hype up special teams. They have logos. They have their own gear for the special teams. They say how important it's going to be. And then right away in game 2, it costs you a game. Like, yeah, it's not a good look, and it was certainly a big factor in the game, but I don't know what else folks want us to say about it. Like, it wasn't good. They gave up 2 bad plays and they scored. It's got to be better. Yeah, no doubt. But I think for 2 games, I'm not ready to and Spencer Danielson said after the game that, he's the best special teams coach in America, and that's not going to change. And players have to win their one-on-one battles and not, and execute. And they put it back, at least initially, back on the players here for what needs to happen. And that we'll see kind of moving forward, what happens. But I'm not ready to, and that's why I waited, this late into the show to bring it up. I'm not ready to go crazy on the special teams. I do want to give the secondary in your final thought here, Mike. The secondary, Alexander Tubner, bum deal there, getting ejected for targeting back in his home, state of Oregon. Debatable there whether or not that was a targeting call. But overall, again, we spent all week.
I thought it was a targeting call, by the way. I thought people ripping on the officiating, that was targeting, and I don't even think that's debatable. And I got kind of frustrated with that one over the weekend. That was targeting, and whether we like it or not, that was targeting.
Speaking of officiating, a lot of people, myself included, initially thought, the ball came out before the end zone. Why'd they confirm it so fast? They did, if you look at the stats, credit it with a 99-yard return, fumbled at the 1-yard line. But the Oregon, what the TV didn't show, I guess, or didn't show initially, the Oregon player picked up the ball in the end zone. So that was why it was still a touchdown. The Oregon picked up the ball in the end zone, but he did fumble it at the 1, and that was almost just a boneheaded play at that point in the game.
And I got really fired up because I was like everybody else, except for lucky guys like you who are in the stadium. I was sitting at home on TV. To this day, they still have never addressed that in terms of what happened. So it was so obvious on video and could have been such a monster play. And, they went straight to the celebration and they came back with the review and never showed the fumble. So I didn't think anybody had picked it up. Certainly that part was never explained on TV. I was really frustrated because that was an obvious one. But in the end of the day, just like the targeting call, the referees did get that one right.
Yes, they did. Okay, final thing, Mike, because I know we're over your time and I appreciate it. But the secondary, they got ripped. They got talked about a lot all week. And again, still a couple of, it wasn't perfect. They've got to get the explosive plays cleaned up. Still too many big passing plays. There was a 59-yard passing play in there. There was a 67-yard passing play in there, a 34-yard passing play in there, I believe. Still way too many big plays, but overall they were able to, the defense got 2 turnovers. Overall, I thought there was improvement. I mean, Dylan Gabriel, you held him to 243 yards passing. I know he was 18 of 21, so only 3 incomplete passes, but I thought overall there were some encouraging signs from the defense moving forward, but the big passing plays is still an issue.
Yeah, and I don't know what's going on there. I'm not smart enough to sit here and talk about scheme. I get frustrated with DeMario Warren and his crew, but back there. But I think this was bigger. This was the safeties. This was the cornerbacks. This was probably scheme and certainly personnel. I credit the Oregon Ducks and some of their defense. But yeah, Boise State, the back half of this defense, I'm not sure what's going on. I don't. Maybe there's not a lot of speed back there. I'm a little disappointed in guys like Irby, who's played so well in the offseason, spring ball, fall camp, everything. This guy's just
we were at the front of hyping him up, myself included. He was great in the spring, but he has not played great through 2 games.
No. And I'm not sure what's going on there. So maybe it's a chemistry issue. Maybe it's a scheme. Right now, let's blame everybody and everything because I think there's enough there going on. And I just haven't been able to pinpoint exactly what's going on. But those explosive plays and the way this defense just gives up plays, it's driving me crazy. I can't imagine what you feel like if you're a Boise State fan or the coaches or that group, because right now they're not getting the job done.
Well, you guys got 3 hours. We had to squeeze this into now 48 minutes, but you guys get 3 hours to break this all down. 3 to 6 today, Idaho Sports Talk. We'll dive in later this week. We got a whole week to do this, so I think we'll go more into the secondary, more into the special teams, and obviously continue the other discussions as well. But we are limited here on time constraints as Prater's got a full-time job to get ready for the show here. But 3 hours, 3 to 6 today, Idaho Sports Talk, KTIK 95.3, The Ticket. You can hear Johnny, Prater, Bob, JP, the whole crew break this thing down for 3 hours. I'm sure you look back at the NFL week one as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to it. And I've got some big surprises later on in the week. We're working on some really fun shows. We'll keep you posted, and certainly we'll see you on Friday as well. It's a bye week, BJ, but nothing's changing around here. So we'll see you on Friday for your Bronco Nation News Report, in the 4 o'clock hour on Idaho Sports Talk.
And there's no presser today. People are asking about that. There is no Spencer Danielson presser. They typically do not do media availability during the bye, so you won't hear any fresh. I don't know if they do the radio show and the TV show, but there won't be any fresh kind of interviews until next Monday of Portland State week. So those of us wanting us to crucify, Dirk Cutter and stand up and ask why all this stuff, well, we have to wait till at least next Monday for that to happen. There are 254 of you right now watching on YouTube. So before you guys exit the show here, if you can hit that like button over in the corner, we would truly appreciate your engagement on social media here. Like the video, subscribe to our channel, and help us out here as we continue to push towards 6,000 subscribers. And while you're at it, give KTIK's YouTube channel and Facebook and Twitter a follow as well. They've got their daily video segment. You want to make sure you tune in each day for that. And you can turn on the notifications, Prater. I don't know how to do it, but there's a way to turn on notifications. And anytime KTIK or BNN go live, you'll be notified right there and on your phone. You click the button and tune on into the video as well. So appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for joining us. Sorry we couldn't get to all the comments and questions. We're almost at 1,000 viewers already, which is a really good number for a Monday after a game. So just couldn't get to all the comments, but tune in at 3 o'clock. They'll help you out and try to give you a little better information, more information on what's going on. By the way, Mason Randolph, I put it on Twitter last night, should mention that he is likely out for the season. He has the J-Tust injury from what I'm told, the bicep injury there. So Mason Randolph likely out for the year, and then didn't look good for Roger Carrion as well. So the O-line will have all week to dive into that, but they've got some issues, unfortunately, injury-wise, that they're going to have to deal with here moving forward. And again, Jay Tust and I, 9 a.m. tomorrow. And go subscribe, go read our content. Mike Prater column coming in a couple days. And we'll talk to you guys later. Bronco Nation News live from the Western Collective Studios. Our title sponsor is rowpaint.com, BroncoNationNews.com.